The quality of your life is shaped by how you structure your days. If you have ever felt like time keeps passing, like you are busy but not truly improving, this is your wake-up moment. The 5 pillars of a productive life are not about tricks or fast shortcuts. They are about creating a strong, realistic system that helps you stay focused, steady, and in charge of your time and energy every single day. Ask yourself, are your habits supporting you or holding you back? Are you always restarting? Do your daily actions match what truly matters to you? This audiobook explains everything in 10 clear chapters that guide you through powerful changes, like learning to act before you feel ready, rebuilding trust in yourself, staying disciplined without burning out, and recovering even after failure. It is simple. It is clear. It is made for people who are ready to stop overthinking and start taking responsibility. You do not need to do everything. You need to begin with what matters. This is where it begins. Let's build your productive life one pillar at a time. Chapter 1. Take responsibility for how your days unfold. I want to talk to you about something at the heart of a productive life, and that is taking responsibility for how your days go. This idea is simple, but it is powerful. It asks you to look honestly at yourself, without excuses or blame. It asks you to understand that the quality of your life is created one normal day at a time, and those days are shaped by the choices you make. Most people want better results, but many still wait for someone else to change first. They wait for situations to improve. They wait for people to act differently. Hope is not a plan. Personal responsibility is. The moment you accept that your life moves in the direction of your decisions is the moment your power comes back to you. That moment is not loud or dramatic. It is quiet and serious. It feels like an inner shift where you stop waiting and start owning. Every morning you wake up with a blank page. Some people give that page to the world. They let messages, emotions, and other people write the story. Others take the pen themselves. That is responsibility. It is not about guilt or blame. It is about ownership. Ownership says, this is my day, and I choose how to use it. If your days feel rushed, distracted, or empty, there is a reason. It is not bad luck. It is not a lack of time. It is the pattern you have been repeating. Patterns are learned, and they can be changed. Responsibility is where change begins. Without it, nothing lasts. With it, everything becomes possible. People often say life is hard. Life can be challenging, but difficulty is not a reason to drift. Hard days still belong to you. Stressful weeks still respond to your choices. Responsibility does not mean you control everything that happens. It means you control how you respond. That response shapes who you become and where you are going. I have learned that success is not something you chase. It is something you attract by becoming the right person. That person is built through daily choices, small ones, ordinary ones. The choice to get up when the alarm rings. The choice to focus on what matters instead of what is easy. The choice to do the work even when no one is watching. When you take responsibility for your days, you stop saying tomorrow will fix it. Tomorrow fixes nothing. Today fixes tomorrow. What you do today sets the direction. How you use the first hour often decides the next 12. That hour is yours. Claim it. Responsibility also changes how you see failure. Instead of feeling defeated, you become curious. You ask, what can I do differently? You stop blaming your mood, your past, or your situation. You focus on your actions. Actions can be adjusted. That is good news. Many people spend their lives reacting. They wait for pressure to push them. Pressure builds character only when you take responsibility under it. Otherwise, it creates frustration. Responsibility turns pressure into progress. It turns confusion into clarity. Your days are made of choices. What you read, what you eat, who you listen to, how long you stay on your phone. These choices feel small, but they add up. Responsibility means paying attention to the small choices and deciding they matter, because they truly do. There is a quiet sense of pride that comes from knowing you showed up fully for your day. Not perfectly, but honestly. You did what you said you would do. You kept your commitments, even the ones no one else notices. That pride builds confidence. Confidence is not loud, it is calm and steady. When people avoid responsibility, they also avoid growth. Growth takes effort, and effort requires ownership. You cannot grow if you believe your life is controlled by things outside of you. The moment you say, "This is my responsibility," is the moment growth begins. Responsibility also brings freedom. That may sound unexpected, but it is true. When you stop blaming, you stop feeling stuck. You realize you have choices. You may not like every option, but you have them. Choice is freedom. A productive life is not about doing more. It is about doing what matters with purpose. Responsibility helps you identify what matters. It removes the noise. It helps you say no without guilt and yes without doubt. Every day asks a question. Will you lead or will you drift? Drifting is easy. It requires no effort. Leadership begins with self-leadership. That means setting your priorities before the world sets them for you. Responsibility also shapes how you talk to yourself. Instead of harsh judgment, you practice honest reflection. You say, "This worked and this did not." You adjust and move forward. That inner conversation shapes your energy. Energy follows responsibility. When you take control, you feel stronger. When you avoid it, you feel exhausted even if you rest. Fatigue often comes from unfinished decisions and unclaimed days. Your habits are votes for the kind of life you are creating. Responsibility is choosing those votes with intention. You do not need to change your entire life in one day. You need to show up for today. Some days will go off course. That is part of being human. Responsibility does not mean perfection. It means recovery. It means getting back on track without drama. It means learning instead of giving up. When you accept responsibility, you stop comparing yourself to others. Comparison weakens focus. Responsibility sharpens it. You stay in your lane, at your pace, focused on your growth. People who live productive lives do not have fewer problems. They have stronger responses. They understand that discipline is choosing what you want most over what you want now. That choice is yours every day. Your future is built quietly. It is built in mornings, evenings, and moments when no one is watching. Responsibility makes those moments matter. I have seen lives change not through sudden breakthroughs, but through steady ownership. One decision followed by another. One day handled with care, then the next. That is how confidence is built. If you want more control, begin with responsibility. If you want better results, begin with responsibility. If you want deeper meaning, begin with responsibility. Your days are your life in small form. Handle the day well, and life begins to respond. Handle it poorly, and life feels heavy. The choice is not easy, but it is simple. Hold yourself to your own standards. Keep your promises to yourself. Decide that your days will no longer happen by accident. They will be intentional. That decision alone changes everything. Responsibility is not a weight. It is the doorway to growth. It is the moment you stop asking who should change and start saying, "I will." Your life does not improve by chance. It improves by choice. Those choices start today. Chapter 2. Train yourself to act even when you resist. Every person has experienced the feeling of not wanting to do what they know they should. That moment when the alarm goes off and staying in bed feels better. When something important needs attention, but distraction pulls harder. That feeling of resistance is normal. But here is the truth most people miss. Resistance never completely disappears. Waiting for motivation is a losing strategy. High achievers do not wait for the right mood. They train themselves to act even when it is uncomfortable, even when they do not feel ready. This chapter is about building that skill, the ability to act despite resistance. It is one of the most important pillars of a productive life. The people who master this separate themselves from the rest, not because they are more talented or luckier, but because they have trained themselves to move forward when everything inside says not now. You were not born with discipline. No one is born with it. Discipline is learned. It is built through repetition, by choosing action instead of delay, one decision at a time. When you choose to act even when you want to avoid it, that is where growth begins. And not just surface growth, but deep inner growth, the kind that reshapes how you see yourself. Many people believe successful individuals always feel motivated, confident, and ready. That is not true. In fact, the more responsibility you take on, the more resistance you will feel. That is part of the process. Feeling resistance does not mean you are weak. It means you are human. Strength comes from how you respond to resistance, not from running away from it. Acting despite resistance means making difficult choices when no one is pushing you. It means starting even when your mind tells you to wait. You do not wait for motivation. You take action, and momentum brings clarity. You move first, and the feeling follows. That is how real progress happens. As you begin to build this skill, you will notice something important. Resistance usually reaches its peak right before you begin. It gets loud when you are close to doing something meaningful. And if you can push through the first few minutes, that resistance starts to loosen its grip. The first step is always the hardest, but once you take it, you realize it was not as difficult as your mind made it seem. You need to practice small wins. You do not have to battle resistance in big ways. Start small. When your mind says, skip the workout, do 5 minutes. When it says scroll instead of read, open the book and read 1 page. When it says wait until tomorrow, start now for a few minutes. You do not have to finish everything at once, but you must begin. Each time you act in spite of resistance, you send a new message to yourself. I am someone who shows up. This kind of training is not a one-time thing. It is daily. It is not about being perfect. It is about being consistent. Your life starts to change when you repeatedly choose action over avoidance. And the best part is this. Each time you do, it becomes a little easier. Your confidence grows. Your trust in yourself strengthens. You stop doubting whether you can handle hard things because you have proven that you can. Start paying attention to your patterns. Where do you hesitate the most? What areas of your life do you keep postponing? When do you tell yourself later? And what usually happens after that? Being honest about these patterns is the first step to breaking them. You cannot change what you refuse to face. Be honest with yourself. Not cruel, just honest. Discipline is not about punishment. It is about care. It is about saying, I want more for myself, so I will lead myself. That is what you are doing when you act despite resistance. You are leading yourself. You are not waiting for someone else to push you. You are doing the pushing. You are stepping into your own strength. Most people think resistance means stop. In reality, resistance is a sign that something important is on the other side. The stronger the resistance, the more meaningful the action. That is why you must lean into it instead of avoiding it. The only way to weaken resistance is to face it again and again. You do not defeat it by thinking, you defeat it by acting. There will be days when your energy is low, your mood is off, and your schedule feels overwhelming. Those days matter the most. Not because everything will go perfectly, but because you prove to yourself that you do not need to feel great to make progress. You just need to show up with what you have. That is enough. Think about where you want your life to go. Think about the person you want to become. Then ask yourself, are my daily actions taking me there? If not, what is stopping me? Is it really time or ability, or is it resistance? Be honest with your answer. And if it is resistance, see it as a challenge, not a punishment, a chance to grow stronger. You do not need to fight your emotions. You need to guide them. You do not need to be fearless. You need to act even when you are afraid. Courage is not the absence of resistance. Courage is choosing to move through it. You do not wait for perfect confidence. You build confidence by doing the thing that scares you. Every time you do something difficult, you grow. Every time you break through a mental barrier, you learn more about who you are. That is why action is so powerful. It teaches lessons comfort. Never can shows you what you're capable of. Build your day around actions, not moods. Moods shift. Plans remain. And when you learn to follow your plan, even when your mood tries to take control, you take your life back. That control is not stiff or harsh. It is focused. You still rest. You still pause. But you do it by choice, not by habit. Start noticing the way you talk to yourself. The words you use in moments of resistance will either move you forward or keep you stuck. If your inner voice always gives you an excuse, it is time to change that voice. Speak to yourself with honesty and strength. Tell yourself the truth. This is difficult, but you can handle it. This is uncomfortable, but it matters. This feels new, but this is how growth happens. Real transformation does not happen when everything feels easy. It happens when things are hard and you keep showing up anyway. That is how people change. That is how goals are achieved. That is how purpose is discovered. One real action at a time, especially when resistance is loud. You were made for more than comfort. You were made to grow, and growth requires movement. It requires effort. It requires facing resistance and saying, "You do not decide my actions, I do." That choice, repeated again and again, becomes your strength. You will not always feel ready, and that is okay. You will not always feel motivated, and that is normal. But you can always choose to act. You can always choose the next step. One step today, then another tomorrow. And before you realize it, you have built a pattern. That pattern becomes who you are. Keep training yourself to act. Not because it is easy or enjoyable, but because it is how you become the person you were meant to be. Chapter 3. Build structure that lowers mental overload. When your mind feels scattered, even small tasks can feel heavy. It is not that you are lazy or lacking motivation. It is that you are carrying too many decisions, too many unfinished thoughts, too many demands pulling your attention in every direction. Most people are not exhausted from doing too much, but from thinking about too much. Mental overload happens when everything feels urgent and nothing feels clear. That is why structure is not just helpful, it is necessary. It gives your mind space to breathe. It organizes your day so you can focus on what truly matters. Structure does not mean planning every minute. It is not about being perfect or rigid. It is about creating a system that reduces stress and increases clarity. When you start a day without a plan, the day takes control of you. You react instead of lead. You jump from task to task, always busy, but rarely productive. With structure, you regain control. You no longer wonder what to do next. You know, and that clarity saves your energy. One of the biggest benefits of structure is reducing decision fatigue. Every decision costs energy. What to wear, what to eat, what to do next. When your day has no structure, those small choices pile up. You may not notice it, but by afternoon, you feel drained. Not from work, but from mental noise. Structure helps you automate the basics, so your focus stays on what truly matters. Start by creating anchors in your day. These are fixed points you return to no matter how unpredictable life becomes. A strong morning routine is one of them. It does not need to be complex, but it must be consistent. It could be 5 minutes of stretching, reviewing priorities, or writing your top 3 tasks. What matters is that it stays the same each morning. That familiarity tells your mind, I am in control. Next, protect time for focused work. That means blocking time for what matters most. Do not wait for free time. Schedule it. If you do not protect deep work, distractions will take over. Structure means choosing time for what matters instead of hoping it appears. It does not need to be hours. Even 30 minutes of focused effort each day adds up quickly. Clutter in your space creates clutter in your mind. Structure also applies to your environment. When your desk is messy, your brain senses the disorder. You may not notice it, but it adds mental weight. Keep your space clean. Keep what you need within reach, and remove what you do not use. A clear space supports a clear mind. Part of structure is knowing what not to do. Many people have endless task lists, but no system for saying no. When everything feels urgent, nothing feels important. Use structure to narrow your priorities. Pick your most important tasks and complete them before adding anything else. You don't need to do everything. You need to do what matters and do it well. Technology can be a powerful tool, but without structure, it turns into a distraction. Notifications, tabs, emails, alerts. All of them compete for your attention. Create boundaries with your technology. Check your phone with intention, not out of habit. Set specific times to review messages. Close anything you're not actively using. Structure gives your brain permission to focus. You also need room in your day to recover. Being productive is not about nonstop activity. It's about using your energy wisely. Plan breaks into your day instead of treating them as an afterthought. Take a short walk. Pause. Breathe. Disconnect. Your brain needs quiet moments to reset and stay sharp. Even your evenings need structure. How you end your day matters. It's easy to stay up scrolling, telling yourself you're relaxing, but your mind stays busy, overloaded with information. Create a simple nighttime routine. Reflect on your day. Write down what worked and what didn't. Prepare for tomorrow before it starts. That way, you don't carry mental clutter into the next day. Structure also helps reduce anxiety. When you feel overwhelmed, it's often because you don't know what to do next. With structure, the next step is clear. You don't need to think about everything at once. You only focus on what's right in front of you. That single shift changes how your day feels. Building structure also means protecting your energy from things that don't support your goals. That means fewer distractions, fewer unnecessary commitments, and more intentional use of your time. You don't owe your time to everyone who asks for it. You owe your time to the life you're trying to build. Start simple. One routine, one focused work block, one system for managing tasks. Don't try to change everything at once. The goal is to reduce mental overload, not add more. Begin with what feels manageable and grow from there. Small steps make a big difference when they're done consistently. Structure should fit your life, not someone else's. Don't copy a system just because it looks impressive. Build one that works for you. If you function best in the morning, protect that time. If your focus is stronger in the afternoon, schedule your most important work then. Use your natural energy patterns to your advantage. Write things down. Don't depend on memory. Mental clutter often comes from holding too much in your head. Use a planner, a notebook, or a simple app, whatever works for you. Offload tasks, reminders, and ideas so your mind can stay present. A brain trying to remember everything can't fully focus on anything. Celebrate progress. Structure should support you, not pressure you. When you complete what you planned, pause and notice it. That's how the habit sticks. You're teaching your brain that this matters. Chapter 4. Build self-trust by keeping promises. Self-trust is one of the strongest forces a person can develop. It's not about feeling confident in every situation or having all the answers. It's about becoming someone you can rely on. Not someone who says things to sound good in the moment, but someone who follows through when no one is watching. That kind of trust is built one small promise at a time. And if you don't keep the promises you make to yourself, it doesn't matter how many goals you write, how many books you read, or how much motivation you consume. Deep down, you'll always doubt whether you'll actually do what you said you would. This is where many people struggle. Not because they lack potential, but because they've broken their own promises too many times and their belief has worn down. They said they would wake up early, but hit snooze. Said they would stay consistent, but quit when it became difficult. Said they would take their goals seriously, but kept pushing them to next week. These moments seem small, but they matter. Every time you break a promise to yourself, even quietly, your mind remembers. And the more it happens, the harder it becomes to trust your own word. Rebuilding that trust doesn't come from making bigger promises. It comes from making smaller ones and keeping them. It means setting goals so simple you can't fail and following through without excuses. Not to prove anything to others, but to show yourself that your actions match your words. When your actions and words align, you stop chasing motivation. You stop doubting yourself. You start believing that when you say something, it will get done. Building self-trust starts with honesty. Not the kind of honesty you post online, but the kind you sit quietly with. You have to be real about what you've been avoiding. Where have you made promises you didn't keep? Where have you let yourself slide? Where have you been performing for others while slowly giving up on your own goals? These questions aren't comfortable, but this kind of honesty is what sets you free. Once you face the truth, you can start again. No one is asking you to be perfect. No one expects you to get everything right immediately. But if you truly want to grow, you have to take your own words seriously. Start small. Choose one thing you've been avoiding. One task, one habit, one change. Make a promise about it and keep it. Don't complicate it. If you say you'll journal for 5 minutes, do it. If you say you'll take a walk after work, do it. Not for results, but for proof. You're proving to yourself that you can be trusted again. And when you start keeping those small promises, something changes. You stop feeling like a fraud. You stop needing other people to validate your progress. You feel more grounded. There's a quiet strength. in knowing you'll do what you said you would do. That strength creates momentum. And with momentum, the promises you keep can grow bigger. But they only grow after you've shown you can handle the small ones. Self-trust also shows up in how you talk to yourself when you mess up. You will fall short. You will miss days. You will make mistakes. But if your first reaction is to criticize and tear yourself down, you'll eventually stop trying. Self-trust isn't built on perfection. It's built on recovery. When you fall, how quickly do you stand back up? When you miss a promise, do you recommit or give up? People with strong self-trust don't expect perfection. They expect honesty and consistency. It also helps to write your promises down. Keep a visible list of what you're committing to. Don't rely on memory. Writing it down makes it real. You can track it. You can look at it at the end of the day and ask, did I follow through? That daily check builds awareness. It builds discipline. And discipline is how trust grows. Be careful with emotional promises. Many people make commitments when they feel excited or frustrated. But when that emotion fades, the promise fades with it. Real promises come from clarity, not pressure. Before committing, ask yourself, am I willing to do this even when it's inconvenient? If the answer is no, then it's not a promise, it's a wish. You also need to stop measuring yourself against others. Self-trust is internal. It's not about who's ahead or behind. It's about being better than you were yesterday. Comparing your timeline to someone else's only creates noise. Focus on your path. Focus on your progress. Focus on what you said you'd do, not on what they're doing. Another way to build self-trust is by protecting your time. When you constantly say yes to things that pull you away from your goals, you're breaking promises without noticing. You say yes to others, but no to yourself. That creates inner conflict. Boundaries matter. Saying no isn't selfish. It's how you stay loyal to the life you're building. Remember, no one else can build self-trust for you. People can encourage and support you, but they can't make you follow through. That responsibility is yours. And that's a good thing, because it means you're in control. You don't need better conditions or more motivation to start. You can begin now. You can begin today. You can become someone who keeps their word, not just to others, but to yourself. And when that happens, you feel it. You carry yourself differently. You speak with more clarity. You make decisions faster. Not because you have everything figured out, but because you trust yourself to figure it out as you go. That's what real confidence feels like. Every time you do what you said you would do, your identity strengthens. You stop trying to prove yourself and start becoming yourself. That's the reward of self-trust. It's quiet, but it's powerful. It's what allows you to build habits, chase goals, and stay steady through challenges. You don't need to wait for the perfect moment. That moment is now. Start with one promise, just one. Make it small, make it clear, then show up for it like it matters, because it does. Chapter 5. Protect your focus from constant stimulation. Your ability to focus is one of your most valuable assets. It's how you create, solve problems, learn, and improve. But in today's world, that focus is constantly under pressure. From the moment you wake up, your attention is pulled in every direction by notifications, messages, news, videos, alerts, and endless noise. The more stimulation you allow in, the harder it becomes to think clearly, stay present, or work on anything that truly matters. Most people don't even notice it happening. They just feel distracted all the time, mentally tired and scattered. The truth is, your mind was never meant to handle nonstop input. Protecting your focus is no longer optional. It's essential. You cannot expect to grow, create meaningful work, or live with discipline if your attention is constantly split into 10 pieces. If you want to build something real, you must protect your attention like your most limited resource, because it is. Time can be planned. Attention is what gives time its value. 10 minutes of deep focus will always outperform an hour of shallow distraction. But that level of focus has to be protected. Start by noticing how much stimulation you accept without thinking. Every time you grab your phone for no clear reason. Every time you open a tab you never intended to check. Every time a notification pulls you away from what you were doing. These moments seem small, but they cost more than time. They cost depth. They break your thinking. They fragment your attention. And worse, they train your brain to want constant stimulation. The more you give in to distraction, the more your mind starts searching for it. You may catch yourself checking your phone in the middle of a task, not because anything important happened, but because your brain expects interruption. That's how stimulation rewires you. Silence starts to feel uncomfortable. Effort starts to feel boring. Slowly, you lose the ability to stay with anything for more than a few minutes. Taking your focus back starts with boundaries. You need to create spaces where your attention is protected from noise, alerts, and interruptions. This might mean turning off notifications for a set period of time. It might mean leaving your phone in another room while you work. It might mean committing to one task at a time and finishing it before moving on. These are not extreme actions. They are simple choices, but they make a huge difference. You also need to stop treating focus like something you wait for. Focus is not a feeling. It's a decision. It's a habit built by training your mind to stay with one thing longer than it feels comfortable. Focus doesn't happen by accident. It's built through practice. And the more you practice, the stronger your mind becomes. Choose specific times in your day to engage with stimulation instead of checking your phone randomly throughout the day. Check it intentionally at planned moments. This teaches your brain that it doesn't need to stay on constant alert. When you create these boundaries, you start controlling your input instead of letting it control you. You also need to be intentional about what information you allow into your life. Not all input is the same. Some content is useful, clear, and helps you grow. Other content is noise that leaves you feeling anxious, irritated, or unfocused. You are not required to follow every headline or trend. Your peace matters more than constant updates. You don't need to know everything to live with purpose and clarity. Create structure in your digital life. Organize your tools. Simplify what you use. Limit what stays open on your screen. When everything feels urgent, nothing feels meaningful. You don't need 15 apps open at once. You need one task that truly matters. That's where deep work happens, in moments when nothing else is competing for your attention. Even during rest, protect your focus. Mindless scrolling is not rest. Endless entertainment is not recovery. Real rest allows your mind to reset. That might mean taking a walk, sitting quietly, or doing something slow without checking your phone every few minutes. When you give your mind space again, you'll be surprised how much clearer you think and how much better you feel. You also need to rebuild your tolerance for boredom. If you can't sit quietly for a few minutes without reaching for a screen, your focus is already weakening. Train yourself to stay present. When you eat, eat. When you talk, listen fully. When you work, give it your full attention. This sounds simple, but in today's world, it's rare. And because it's rare, it gives you an advantage. Train your mind like a muscle. Focus is built the same way strength is built. Start with small sessions. Choose one task. Set a timer for 20 or 30 minutes and commit to staying with it completely. No checking, no switching, just one task with full attention. After a short break, repeat the process. Over time, this practice retrains your brain. It makes focusing on one thing easier. It builds your ability to go deeper. Multitasking is one of the biggest myths people still believe. It feels productive, but it actually divides your attention and lowers the quality of your work. You're not doing more. You're doing everything worse. Decide to be someone who does one thing at a time with full presence. That choice alone puts you ahead of most people who live in constant distraction. Protect the beginning and the end of your day. Don't start your morning by flooding your mind with stimulation. Avoid reaching for your phone the moment you wake up. Begin with quiet. Let your mind wake up slowly. Chapter 6. Use discomfort to build emotional strength. Discomfort is not your enemy. In many cases, it's the doorway to real growth. The problem is that most people spend their lives trying to escape it. They avoid difficult conversations, unfamiliar challenges, uncertainty, rejection, and anything that pushes them beyond what feels safe. Comfort feels good, so they chase it. But comfort, when held onto for too long, becomes a trap. It keeps you stuck. And the longer you stay there, the more fragile you become. Strength is not built in ease. It's built by choosing to face what makes you uncomfortable and proving to yourself that you can handle it. Emotional strength is not about appearing tough on the outside. It's about being steady on the inside. It's the ability to feel fear, embarrassment, anxiety, sadness, and still move forward. Many people believe strong individuals don't feel these emotions. The truth is, they feel them deeply. They've simply trained themselves not to run from them. They've learned how to move through discomfort without falling apart. That strength didn't appear suddenly. It was built moment by moment, each time they chose discomfort instead of avoidance. If you want to become someone who handles life with clarity and courage, you need to be honest about the areas you avoid. Discomfort always lives there. Maybe it's fear of failure that keeps you from starting. Maybe it's fear of judgment that keeps you silent. Maybe it's fear of making the wrong choice that keeps you stuck. These fears are natural, but they are not permanent. They are signals, signs that something meaningful exists on the other side. If you ignore them, you stay where you are. If you face them, you grow. One of the most powerful choices you can make is to stop running from discomfort and start working with it. You do that by placing yourself in situations that stretch you. You don't need extreme challenges. You just need moments that make you feel slightly exposed, slightly nervous, slightly unsure. That space between comfort and fear is where growth happens. The more time you spend there, the stronger you become. When you do something uncomfortable and get through it, something shifts inside you. You begin to trust yourself more. You realize fear isn't a command to stop. It's just a feeling. And feelings only control you if you let them. Every uncomfortable step forward becomes proof. Proof that you can face difficulty and keep going. That proof builds real confidence. Not loud or flashy confidence, but quiet, steady confidence that's earned. Discomfort also teaches patience. When things feel uncomfortable, you can't rush through them. You're forced to slow down, breathe, and move, one step at a time. That's how emotional control develops. You stop reacting to everything instantly. You start observing. You create space between what happens and how you respond. That space is where strength grows. It's where you stop being controlled by your emotions and start leading them. Most people live in avoidance. They distract themselves when emotions feel heavy. They numb themselves when feelings rise. But nothing changes until you face what you feel directly. The emotions you avoid continue to control you. The emotions you sit with are the ones you eventually understand and grow beyond. That's why discomfort is a gift. It points to the parts of you that need attention, not escape. Emotional strength isn't built in calm moments. It's built in challenge. It's built in the moments when you want to quit, but choose to stay. When you feel the urge to escape, but choose to stay present. That choice matters. It may not feel good in the moment, but over time, it creates something powerful. It builds grit. It builds character. It creates a quiet pride that no one can take from you. As you train yourself to face discomfort, your tolerance for challenge grows. Things that once rattled you no longer do. You become more grounded and steady, not because life became easier, but because you became stronger. That kind of growth carries into every part of your life, your work, your relationships, your goals, and your habits. Everything improves when your emotional strength improves. You also begin to separate your thoughts from the truth. Discomfort brings out the loudest thoughts, the ones that tell you you're not good enough, that you'll fail, that you'll embarrass yourself. Chapter 7. Improve one small behavior every day. You don't need to change everything at once to improve your life. What you really need is to improve one small behavior each day. That's where real progress begins. It's not about making huge changes overnight. It's about making quiet, intentional choices every day that slowly shape who you are and how you live. Many people wait for the perfect moment to begin. They wait for motivation or better conditions. But growth doesn't need perfect timing. It needs consistency with small actions that seem insignificant but actually shape everything. Your life is built on habits. What you do daily becomes who you are. Small behaviors, repeated again and again, add up over time. If you move through your days on autopilot, repeating habits that don't help you, nothing changes. But if you choose one small behavior to improve today, you regain control. That decision may not feel powerful right away, but it creates momentum. Improvement begins with awareness. You can't change what you don't notice. Start paying attention to your actions. How do you begin your mornings? How do you respond to stress? How do you use the small gaps in your day? Where do you choose comfort instead of growth? Don't judge yourself, just notice. Awareness creates space. And in that space, you gain the ability to choose something better. Not something big, just something better. Pick one small behavior each day. Maybe it's drinking water when you wake up. Maybe it's responding calmly instead of reacting. Maybe it's fixing your posture. Maybe it's putting your phone away during meals. Whatever it is, keep it clear, simple, and realistic. The goal isn't to impress anyone. The goal is to follow through. That's how confidence grows. Not from hype, but from action. When you promise yourself you'll improve one small thing and then do it, you send yourself a message. I can be trusted. That message strengthens your identity, and identity is what drives lasting change. You're not just changing behavior, you're becoming someone who values growth. Change isn't a single moment. It's a pattern, and the best way to build that pattern is to focus on today, not the past or the distant future. Today is where your influence lives. How you use today is an investment in your future. One good choice today makes the next one easier. That's how momentum is built, one decision at a time. Improving one small behavior each day also prevents overwhelm. Many people quit because they try to fix everything at once. The pressure becomes too much, and they burn out. But small, steady improvements keep you grounded and consistent. Long-term change comes from staying in the game. Your brain responds to small wins. Each small improvement creates a reward. Over time, those rewards turn into habits. Eventually, doing the right thing feels natural. That's the power of small changes. They may seem minor, but they reshape your life. You don't need a full plan. You only need to know what to improve today. Let that be enough. The results will follow. Your job is to keep showing up. Some days, you won't feel like improving anything. On those days, discipline matters most. Choose something even smaller, but still choose. Keep the habit alive. One day you'll look back and realize the person you've become was shaped by hundreds of small choices. The change didn't happen all at once. Chapter 8. Choose consistency over excitement and impulse. Most people begin with energy but don't finish. They get excited about a new goal, plan, or routine. For a short time, everything feels possible. They go all in for a few days or a week, fueled by motivation. But when that excitement fades, and it always does, they slow down, stop, and move on to the next thing that promises a rush. This cycle repeats until they stop trusting themselves. This isn't a motivation issue. It's a consistency issue. And if you want real change, you must choose consistency over excitement and impulse. Excitement fades quickly. It's emotional, and emotions change. Impulse disappears even faster. It reacts in the moment and vanishes just as fast. Neither one lasts. Consistency, on the other hand, may not look exciting, but it builds something strong. It's not about intensity. It's about showing up, no matter how you feel. When you choose consistency, you start building a foundation that doesn't fall apart when things get hard. You build habits that go deeper than mood or circumstance. We live in a world that constantly feeds the desire for something new. New trends, new tools, new shortcuts. But growth doesn't come from chasing shiny things. It comes from doing the simple work again and again, even when it feels boring, even when no one notices, even when your mind says, "This isn't exciting anymore." That's where most people quit, and that's exactly where you need to keep going. Choosing consistency means being honest about what actually produces results. It's not the perfect plan or bursts of intense effort. It's small actions repeated with discipline. You don't need to be extreme. You need to be committed. Excitement might help you start, but consistency is what gets you to the end. The challenge is that consistency doesn't always feel good. Sometimes it feels dull. Sometimes it feels slow, but that's why it works, because most people won't stick with something once the excitement fades. When you live on impulse, you're ruled by temporary feelings. You act based on what feels good now, instead of what matters long-term. You skip the workout because you're tired. You spend money because you're bored. You quit because progress feels too slow. Each time you give in to impulse, you delay the life you say you want. Each time you choose consistency, you move one step closer. You have to learn to stay committed without needing constant rewards. Real progress doesn't always show immediate results. Some days it feels like nothing is changing, but that doesn't mean nothing is happening. Growth takes time. Roots form before anything shows on the surface. If you stop too early, growth dies. That's what quitting does. It kills momentum right before results appear. Consistency builds character. It shapes how you see yourself. Every time you follow through, you reinforce the identity of someone who shows up. That builds trust. That builds confidence. And confidence doesn't come from hype. It comes from doing what you said you would do, especially when you don't feel like it. That's when it matters most. To stay consistent, reduce the pressure. Stop aiming for perfection. Perfection doesn't last. Focus on showing up, even if your effort is small. Consistency doesn't mean full effort every day. It means not walking away completely. If all you have today is 20%, give that. Staying in motion is what matters. Progress comes from long-term engagement, not short bursts of perfection. Build systems that support consistency. Motivation is unreliable. Routines help you act when motivation is low. Use reminders. Set time blocks. Keep your space organized and focused. These small changes reduce friction. And when friction is lower, consistency becomes easier. Structure supports you when discipline feels weak. Track your progress as well. Chapter 9. Measure your actions against your values. There comes a point in life when you stop asking what looks good and start asking what feels right. Not what feels good in the moment or looks right to others, but what aligns with your own standards. That's where values matter. Your values guide your decisions. They keep you grounded when life pulls you in different directions. When you don't know your values, or don't check your actions against them, it's easy to stay busy but feel empty. Progress without alignment leads to disconnection. This isn't about perfection. It's about honesty. Being honest about how you spend your time. Honest about what you say yes to. Honest about what you allow into your life. Every action either aligns with your values or it doesn't. When too many actions go against what you say matters, the cost isn't just time. It's self-trust. You start to feel off without knowing why. Busy, but not proud. Active, but not fulfilled. That disconnect builds quietly through repeated compromise. Living by your values doesn't mean having everything figured out. It means asking one simple question often. Does what I'm doing right now match what I say matters to me? If you value health but avoid movement, something's off. If you value honesty but dodge hard truths, you're conflicted. If you value relationships but give them leftovers, your actions don't match your priorities. When that gap grows, it creates stress, mental, emotional, sometimes physical. That stress often shows up as frustration, fatigue, restlessness, or low motivation. Not because you're lazy, but because your actions are disconnected from your purpose. When your values are clear and your actions align, you don't need hype or pressure. Direction becomes clear, and energy follows clarity. Checking your actions against your values means slowing down and being honest with yourself. It means asking difficult questions without rushing the answer. It means noticing when you've drifted and adjusting. That's growth. Not loud or dramatic, but quiet and real. The choice to stop lying to yourself. The choice to walk away from what doesn't feel right. The choice to apologize because integrity matters more than ego. There's a quiet strength that comes from living in alignment. It's not always exciting, but it brings peace. When you go to sleep, knowing your actions matched your values, that creates a deep, steady confidence. You stop chasing what everyone else is doing. You start building something solid inside yourself. That strength doesn't come from external wins. It comes from internal consistency. Values aren't something you define once and forget. They need to be revisited often. Life changes. Seasons shift. What mattered to you last year may not matter the same way today. That isn't weakness, it's growth. But if you never stop to reflect, you might keep chasing an outdated version of success, or worse, someone else's idea of it. Start by identifying your core values, not the ones that sound impressive, but the ones you truly want to live by, the ones you're willing to sacrifice for. Chapter 10. Recommit every day, even after setbacks. Progress is never a straight line. No matter how dedicated you are, there will be days you miss the mark. There will be weeks when everything feels off. There will be moments when you make choices you regret, when you lose control, when you fall short of what you promised yourself. That's part of being human. Setbacks are not the end of growth. They're part of it. The difference between people who move forward and those who stay stuck isn't who avoids failure. It's who chooses to recommit afterward. You can't control every fall, but you can control how quickly you stand back up. Recommitting daily means understanding that yesterday doesn't define you. No matter how badly things went, how much you disappointed yourself, or what you didn't follow through on, today gives you a new option. That choice is quiet. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't come with a dramatic moment. It shows up in the silence of your thoughts. When you decide to start again without permission and without waiting for perfect timing, that decision carries power. It moves you from shame to ownership, from frustration to forward motion. You don't need to erase the past to move ahead. You only need to stop letting it control your next step. Many people stay stuck not because they can't grow, but because they believe they've failed too many times to try again. Guilt weighs them down, and that guilt turns into avoidance. But falling off track doesn't make you weak. Refusing to return does. Recommitting is strength. It's self-leadership. It's choosing your future over your mistakes. When you stumble, the voice in your head will tell you to wait. It will say, fix everything first, then try again. That voice is wrong. You don't need to fix everything. You just need to take the next step, then the one after that. Momentum isn't built through overthinking. It's built through action, even when it's imperfect, especially when it's imperfect. Setbacks come in many forms. Sometimes it's breaking a habit. Sometimes it's losing patience. Sometimes it's walking away from a goal you said mattered. No matter the setback, the rule stays the same. Don't let it last longer than it has to. One bad day doesn't need to turn into two. One poor choice doesn't erase your standards. The faster you return, the less damage is done. Not because you rush, but because you refuse to quit on yourself. You have to build the skill of self-recovery. That means not waiting for motivation. It means not needing approval from others to believe you deserve another try. You decide. You choose to act in your best interest, even when it feels uncomfortable. That ability to return without shame builds emotional strength. It shows you that your commitment is stronger than your mood. Recommitting daily doesn't mean starting from zero each time. It means continuing from where you are, adjusting as needed, and moving forward. Sometimes that means slowing down. Sometimes it means simplifying. But it never means quitting. Your pace may change, but your direction stays the same. Your effort may vary, but your intention remains. Allow yourself to learn from what didn't work. Setbacks are feedback. They reveal weak points in your systems. They show where emotions take control. Use that information, reflect, adjust, and step back in with greater awareness.